crystals. Oh, there it goes, live in 1, 2, 3, 4, go. Hi.
Oh, hi. I'm really, really happy to be hosting the Better Reading in Conversation tonight with Tricia Stringer. And she's in my office. Don't look at the mess.
No, we're not.
We're not.
No.
But we thought it would be nicer for us to be together in the one space than
Yes.
in two separate screens. So Tricia is out on tour now,
yes,
with her new book, Head for the Hills, which I really loved. And I like to describe Tricia's books as a mix of heart, humour, community and friendship.
Yeah,
with women, with older women characters at their core, and who have sort of been overlooked for a really long time in fiction, and it comes and goes. So that's Tricia's. If you like that, Tricia's right up your alley, I think.
Yeah.
So welcome, Tricia. Thanks, Better Reading. Tricia, give us a little. No, shall I talk a little bit about you?
Whatever you like to do.
Okay. Now, Tricia's a South Australian, proudly. This is her 17th book.
Yes.
She's an multi-award winning and multi-best-selling author, much loved by Australian readers and probably New Zealand readers as well.
Oh, yeah. I have a good following in New Zealand.
Yeah, we love our New Zealand readers.
We do.
She is a country girl by birth, still lives in the country, so she knows a lot about those sort of smaller communities, which she writes about in this book in particular. So I think we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty.
Definitely, yeah.
Tell us about Head for the Hills.
Head for the Hills is set in the beautiful Adelaide Hills, so thus the name of a region of South Australia, and it was perfect for this as the setting for this book, as in South Australia, and I'm sure in all around Australia and in other places, every now and again, small communities get hit by development requests, and sometimes they work really well in that community and other times not. And, it's about how we feel about having something suddenly lob up on our doorstep or over our back fence. And so for this book, I take people to the Adelaide Hills, to a very small community, a little town where a development is proposed, a hotel is proposed to be built on the edge of the town. And so that then causes some angst for people. Some people think it's a great idea, others think not so. And so discussions kind of become arguments, neighbours turn against neighbours. And two sisters who live in the town, who've lived there all their lives and have been part of the community, end up on opposite sides of the fence, so to speak, and literally as well, because they live side by side. So that really is it in a nutshell.
And it's an issue that is very real, isn't it? I mean, neighbourhoods in the cities can be divided by development.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be in a small country town.
No.
So I think it's something that people face all the time.
Yes.
And your two sisters, the two sisters are Margot and Rosalind.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about the two of them, because I think they're great characters, especially Rosalind. I liked her a lot.
Poor Margot. Everybody likes Rosalind. So Rosalind is the older sister, and she is a retired anaesthetist and lives on her own now. With her husband has died, and her son lives overseas. So she is very much on her own, but right beside Margot, who has, two children and their families who live nearby. So they're still family close. And so as sisters, they still share a lot and catch up quite frequently for family get-togethers. But of course, as you say, they are quite different. I would say that Rosalind is the pricklier of the two, but
she's the older sister. I have an affinity for older sisters.
And you see, I'm the little sister. There's a spoiled one, and so that is Margot. And Margot's quite different. I think she's one of those people who tries to be everything to everyone, and especially her family, very important to her. And she loves to cook, so preparing food for people is her way of showing that love, and so that's very important to her, whereas Rosalind would much prefer to go and buy a cooked chook, and that would be her dinner. So yeah, me too. So they're quite different.
It's her love language is cooking for people and nurturing people through food.
That's right. And then she takes to heart very much the community. Rosalind, of course, does too, but she's looking at it perhaps from an even bigger picture point of view. She's more pragmatic about things, and so she sees other ways that this development may actually help their community in other ways, which Margot doesn't agree with. So,
and it becomes personal for Margot, doesn't it? Because the development is literally next door.
Yes.
And so I suppose in the town, which is a fictional town, Tricia's created in the Adelaide Hills.
Yes, don't go looking for it. It's not there.
But Mount Barker and Harndorf are
real. They are real. Yes.
So because it's literally on her doorstep, she takes it more to heart, doesn't she? This idea of her view disappearing, people overlooking her sanctuary, her home, and it becomes a
very real thing, isn't it? None of us want that. So for her, it's a very personal issue.
Yeah. So the sisters become embroiled in this development issue, don't they? And they become they're loggerheads, really.
Yes, they sure are. Yes. Yeah.
And so there's another character in the book, though. Tell us about Amber.
Amber is one of those characters that wasn't meant to be in the story. She was just a little cameo character, and she just decided that she needed a voice. And that happens to, I'm sure it's happened to you before, where you've been writing away and suddenly there's this character tapping you on the shoulder saying, I want to be heard. And so she's a young woman on her own, and she just appears in the story and commands some attention and became very important to the story in the end. So I was, glad to find out more about her and sort of explore where she'd come from and why she was demanding to be heard and what she was all about.
Yeah, tell us about her circumstances.
So she's introduced. So when she's introduced, she and Rosalind are both in the doctor's surgery, the only two people there. She, as I said, she's meant to be this little character just to decorate the doctor's surgery. But it turns out that she is a young woman. She's 19, she's pregnant, she's on her own, and she's living in a car. And so, that little bit of background, I thought, well, how, why, what's brought her to this point? So I had to do a lot of research about people who might be in that circumstance and how do they find themselves there, and also then I discovered that they're often young women with no often they've either lived at home or with a partner and they have no rental history, no bill history, those sorts of things. So it makes it difficult for them to find accommodation. It was really interesting finding out more about Amber. And she's not a wilting violet either. She's quite determined to look after herself.
Yeah, I think.
But she doesn't like asking for help.
Yes, and she seems. This is no spoilers, but she's a character who's really struggled and has been on her own her whole life. She's always had to do for herself.
She has.
So the idea of letting someone help her makes her feel
foreign to her.
It's foreign to her. Yeah.
We've got a crew of people there.
Now, do you want to say hello to people, Tricia?
Yeah, let's say hello. Hi, Debbie, all the way from Perth, WA. Lovely to hear from you. And Sue, hi. Jessica and another Sue. Thanks, Sue. Enjoyed the book. You've read it already. Very quick. And Maria has found my books by accident and
love them.
Such an accurate slice of Aussie life. Well, that's lovely to hear. Thank you. And Melissa, hi. And Tina, can't wait to read your new book. Currently reading Back on Track. Well, I hope you're enjoying the train journey. That's great. Kim and Nicole, hi. Hi, Joe and Fiona. Oh, you loved the relationship with Amber had with Rosalind. It was very special, wasn't it? Just perfect for Rosalind, who needed someone perhaps in her life.
And because her son, as you mentioned, her son lives overseas.
Yeah.
And she doesn't see her son or grandchild.
Yeah.
And Kim Smith, hi Tricia and Victoria love both your books. Oh, thank you. That's
very
I don't mean
nice.
to crash your party,
No,
Tricia.
how lovely. We love
And
both our books too.
we do. And Amanda says hello. Oh, and she's tagging someone. She's tagging Mel Hammond, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a little chat, and then we're going to come to questions.
Yes. So if you've got questions,
type them in the group chat. We can obviously see that on the screen, and we'll come and we'll respond to those before the end of the half hour.
Yes.
Because you've grown up in small towns, or regional communities, I should say, did you bring any real life experience to this setting and to these people and situations?
I think so. Obviously you try not to write about people that you know or real places, but there are little aspects of those sort of places. And I think the other thing is that because I've lived in those settings all my life, you just have a natural affinity with them, and it's easy to sort of imagine you're in them and that your characters are in them, so you can sort of write about them without writing about reality. You're actually just making it up, but the background of the reality helps create the writing, or helps formulate the writing.
I mean, it's always hard as an author to pinpoint, isn't it, where ideas come from, but you sort of soak them up and they sit and percolate, I think, in the back of your mind, don't they?
Yes.
And then you think, oh, that could be a good idea. Where did that come from? Somewhere.
Yes.
It came from
and
somewhere.
The idea of the development, as I said, is just in South Australia we've had wind farms, we've had a radioactive waste dump proposed, we've had copper mines, gold mines, and hotels being proposed in regional communities. And you sort of think, well, not many people want a mine just over their fence, or a wind farm just on the hill behind them, or anything like that. So all of those things are real proposals, or are actually there now. So I think people can relate to that in some way or another. It's either been close to them or they've seen it happen in nearby communities.
I think so, and you don't have to be living regionally for development things to be an issue. It could be could be a block of flats next door to a suburban house.
Yes.
And in South Australia's wine districts, and it's probably the same in the Hunter Valley and Margaret River and wherever else. But we don't see anything except South Australian wine.
No, that's right.
No,
no,
we don't. Right.
Sorry, we're a bit parochial.
And we are drinking South Australian wine.
We are. Cheers.
But it is an issue, and people who've lived in a community for a long time some, not all, want things to stay the way they are because that's what they love about it. Others in the town might want development to come in because it might mean a renewed focus on their business, and it might enable their businesses to survive. But then, as you portray in the book, there are city people who move to those areas who don't want any development either.
No,
they want to live that alternative lifestyle.
Move for the alternative lifestyle,
so it's very complex.
It is.
I wouldn't want to be a town planner in a regional community.
No, and I did meet with some town planners, so that was very, very interesting. I went and talked to mayors, I talked to elected council members in different council areas, and there is a state planning authority for South Australia which oversees big developments like this one. But, the bottom line was I just got to the end and I thought I still can't work it out. So it is a work of fiction. And if you are a town planner and you read my book, it might not be exactly to the rules that you adhere to, but I think it's pretty close to it really just depends which council area you're in and how it's looked at and how people feel about it.
And what I did like about about Head for the Hills, Tricia, is that people disagreed, and some people, this is not a spoiler, but some people could never get over the disagreement.
No.
And I think that does happen we see that in families and
yes, it can happen over anything.
Anything. Yeah. So it's not you don't pretend that everyone gets over these upsets.
No, and sadly, some of them don't, and so it's just a bit of a simmering issue that stays on for some people. They can't let it go, no matter what.
And Margot's in that position, isn't she? In the sense that she people are voicing their support for this development proposal, which is a boutique hotel.
Yes.
And she's determined to stick to her guns, and she just makes a life decision.
Yes.
Is that a spoiler?
No, I don't think so.
No.
She decides that she will run for mayor because she thinks that this might be a way for her to influence the decision. And so there's an opportunity for her to run. And so she has a go. And, I put that down to my dear friend here sitting beside me, because we were having a discussion early on when I was, in the early stages of writing this book and not knowing, quite, just needed a bit more of a plot point happening, I suppose, if you would call it. And so we were sort of talking about it over dinner one night, weren't we? And Victoria, came up with this wonderful idea that, one of them could run for mayor. And, I thought, yeah, that sounds good, until I actually sat down to do it. And then I had to research how you could become a mayor. And, if there's somebody already the mayor, how do you get rid of that mayor? And
that was a bit scandalous. I won't say anything else, but there's some scandal involved there. Oh, I love plotting other people's books.
Yes, thank you very much.
So much fun. It's so much fun. Doing my own is much harder. What was your process like for this book? You write sisters who are very close and have always been very close, but some of their fights.
Yes.
I just thought, how do they come back from this?
It was tricky, and poor Margot, she really did get, turn herself in knots a bit.
Yeah.
I think she redeems herself in the end, because the bottom line is she's not really a nasty person.
No, not at all.
But in the heat of the moment, things are said.
Yeah, and sisters.
There's
history there, isn't there?
Yeah. Sisters have a different relationship, I think.
Yeah. And she has a role in the town which she's really happy with. Yeah. She likes things just the way they are.
Yeah. Yes.
And that can
she's
be
busy
hard
and
for people.
Yeah, she doesn't really want to change.
Yeah. If anyone on our chat has been touched by a development decision that you fought against, or that you thought that should never have happened,
be interesting to know.
Let us know. Let Trish know. You never know. There could be another plot in it for another book.
Yes,
I'm happy to
never know. Yeah, we could. And look, Fiona has said that she enjoyed the new book. That's lovely. And she was lucky enough to read it early and preview it for better reading. So thanks, Fiona, for doing that. That's great.
Just one of the bonuses.
One of the bonuses of better reading.
Of better reading and being involved in this amazing community. And if you're around on Thursdays, I think it is Thursdays, when it's What Are You Reading happens.
Yes.
Yeah, if I'm around, I always like to see what other people are reading, get book recommendations and things like that. So there's quite a few people.
There are.
Kim Smith says, I love both of your books. I buy them as soon as they come out. That's very kind.
Thank you, Kim.
So Sharon Hill asks, looking forward to reading a new book. Tricia, are you working on your next book? If so, can you tell us anything about it?
Yes, definitely working on the next book. There's always another book to be written, isn't there?
Another book.
And this one is two couples. Well, they're not necessarily couples.
Four people.
That's what I should say. One couple, two caravans, and they are off on a trip of a lifetime. But, they don't get very far along the track when cracks start to appear, not only in things going wrong with the caravans, but also with the relationships. And, so it's proving a bit interesting and a bit tricky. I'm not quite to the end of it yet, but it kind of looks like, and this may not happen because, as I said, I'm not quite to the end, one of them might not come back.
I was going to ask about a sex scandal involving the four people.
Well.
But I think your plot's much more interesting. But you are a caravaner, aren't you?
I am a caravaner, yes. So I have drawn on some personal experiences with the caravan, not with the relationships. No. Yeah.
And not with one of the characters coming back.
No, not the characters coming back. No, not that. But yeah, if you're a caravaner, you will know things do happen, don't they? And the interesting people that you meet along the way when you're caravanning. So yeah, it's been quite a lot of fun.
Can I tell you my one? Well, it was a caravan park story because we were in a tent, and there was everyone was clustered around the toilet. I mean, the main area where the toilet block is and the office and things. And there was a tent set up way over in the opposite direction. And that night we realised why. Because the person in that tent snored like a locomotive. And we thought he was trying to do the right thing, but we could hear him just wherever, way across the,
that is one of the things.
I'm just looking at comments. Melissa Devon asks, what are you both reading at the moment?
Oh, I am listening on audio, because I'm on the road a bit at the moment, to Julie Goodwin's biography.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is
She's the
really
MasterChef
interesting.
Winner and chef.
First Australian MasterChef winner. And, really interesting story. And she's reading it. So that, makes it even more special, her voice telling the story. So that's what I'm listening to at the moment.
I have, of course, just finished Head for the Hills. I am a quarter way through Death at the Sign of the Rook by Kate Atkinson, her new book, which is part of her Jackson Brodie detective series. And she wrote it during COVID, and it's much more of a cozy than her other books. And I'm only a quarter way through because my husband stole it, and he's near the end. Because we've just been on an overseas trip, so we had to share our books. But he got that one before me. But as usual, I have a pile of books. Tricia can see one; it's about to topple over next to her.
I'm the same at my house.
But there's so many good books coming out, especially at this time of year. Of course, led by Head for the Hills by Tricia Stringer. But that's a good question. Linda Lane says, like the relationship with Amber and Rosalind, we deal with that at Mum's cottage with young mothers that have no family, etc., to go to. Oh, I've sent books to
me too.
Linda.
So that's near Newcastle, isn't it, Linda, in New South Wales? I'm pretty sure.
Thank you for your work for people who are that vulnerable.
Linda, I think Linda was running the library there.
Oh, okay. But young people don't know how systems work. I think that's very true. It can be very hard to navigate it, especially as you said, when you're young and vulnerable.
And if you've had no one to give you any guidance, as you're growing up to it, it can be tricky.
I think that's something I loved about that, about the character of Amber. I know you said she was a minor character at first, but she kind of grew. But part of the story is told through her point of view, so we get to know why she's in the situation she's in. 19. Is 19?
Yes.
19, pregnant on her own. She's basically arrived in town with no support, and then there might be assumptions about a character like her, and you really do that very well in that you give her a real story and a real empathy. That you've written her with real empathy.
And the thing that I also like about her is that she then brought a whole different range of characters into the story, which hadn't originally, minor characters, but just I think they added a bit of interest to the story too. So
I definitely think so. We can't talk about that because that's spoilers as well. Nicole West says, "Oh yes, there are always caravan stories to tell."
Yes. You are so right, Nicole. Oh gosh.
My husband's family used to caravan, and apparently foursies was a thing, but then it becomes threesies and twosies. And that is drinks at 4 o'clock.
Yes, we're talking about drinks, not anything else. So yes, it depends kind of what time of day you've set up, you're organised, and you think, okay, down tools, time to relax, and for some people that's earlier in the day than others.
Can you reverse the caravan, Tricia?
No.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm not allowed to drive our car when it's towing the caravan. I don't know why, because I am actually quite a competent driver, but anyway, my husband likes to be in charge of that, and I get stuck with the helping for him to back in, and I never can remember if it's left hand down or right hand down. So we have some very interesting discussions.
Discussions. That's a polite word for it, I'd say.
And then we're all set up and it's all fun.
And that's when you have the 11sies. You park the caravan. Joe says you like a book set on a trip of some kind, Tricia.
Very true. Do seem to, don't I?
Is it just an excuse to go on holidays?
Yeah, I've got my eye on a. You've just come back from overseas. I've got my eye on a. What is the name of that river that goes from Amsterdam to Budapest?
The Rhine.
The Rhine.
Yeah.
I've got my eye on a river cruise. I think someone like Ketty from Back on Track might like to do that trip.
Yeah. So Ketty's featured in 2 of your books.
She has, yes. So I think,
I think
she certainly doesn't suit a caravan. So I couldn't put her in the caravan story.
But I think you need to take a writer friend for a research trip on that riverine cruise.
Possibly, we could do some plot work.
We could. Overlooking a chateau or 2.
Yes, that would be.
Yes. Okay. Yes, so you should write that book.
Indeed, yes.
So look, I'm just going to check.
Oh, we've got a few more minutes.
Questions.
We've got a few more minutes.
Sandra,
thank you. She's loved our books. That's very nice of you, Sandra.
Thank you, Sandra. That's very nice. There have been lovely comments today in the chat.
Yeah. And Christine.
Christine.
She's up.
Oh yes, thank you, Christine.
Sorry,
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to stare at the side of. I'm trying not to squint at the comments.
If we've missed anyone, I'm sorry.
So what's your process? Do you get up early in the morning? I know I read somewhere the other day someone got up and worked from 5 o'clock in the morning until they've got their. I
could do that, but
really?
I am a morning person. But what I try to do is do everything else that I need to do, and then pretend like I'm going out to work and start work at 8 o'clock or whatever time is sort of around that time. It's not a strict time, but. And I go into the office and I put my work headset on because I just think otherwise I'm a procrastinator and I just waste time. So it seems to have worked for me to do that, to get into the office to work. And I aim for a certain word count. I don't always achieve it. Don't knock myself out about it because I just figure, well, tomorrow, I could write more. So it's
do you put work clothes on, or do you work in your pajamas?
I do like to be dressed.
Yeah, I do too. Yes, or I feel like I'm just working in my pajamas.
Yeah, it's not too easy to, slop off, slide off something.
Slide off, and then
yeah.
Now you are going on tour. You've done some dates.
Yes.
Where have you been?
So sort of started early with the Northern Beaches Readers Festival in Avalon.
Huge success.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Such a great. If you ever get a chance to go to that festival, please go because it was so good. 49 authors there were there over the 3 days.
So that's
so I was fangirling too, meeting people that I hadn't had a chance to meet before.
Remind us, did you just say it was in Avalon?
Avalon Beach, north of Sydney. Yes. Yeah. So that was great. So that was kind of an early start. I got to tell people about Head for the Hills then. But then last night, of course, we were at Mount Barker.
We were.
Which is where Head for the Hills is partly set. So it was lovely to go to Mount Barker Library and to launch there. Thank you to you for helping me with that.
Thank you to Terry and the team at Mount Barker, who are such great supporters of South Australian authors.
Yes. And tomorrow night I shall be in my home country of Copper Coast on York Peninsula. So I always like to have a local launch and say thanks to all the locals who support me, which is really nice. And then from there, I start moving around to other South Australian events, and there will be a trip to Queensland. So check out those events, and also Victoria. So
not me, the state.
No, the state. And I am going to go to a part of regional. I do try to go to a part of South Australia that doesn't get a lot of visits. So this year I'm going to Eyre Peninsula, which is where I grew up. And so heading that way to do some events as well.
Local girl makes good.
Yes.
The headline writes itself.
Headline writes itself, indeed.
Now, where can people find details about all your dates?
All my dates are on my website, so triciastringer.com. It's easy to find. The events are all there, and if some of them are only penciled in at the moment, so I add them there as quickly as I can. There are quite a few also on Facebook events, but they're not all there. So, check a couple of places. And if you see a name come up and it's near you, you can always contact your local bookseller or your local library because it's probably at one or other of those places.
Sure. And many of the events are free, but they do like to know how many are going.
They do.
Purposes and other things.
Yeah. And so...
if you look on the in the comments, Better Reading has posted the link to the events page on Tricia's website.
Better Reading. And Nicole has booked in for one of my Queensland visits.
Oh,
so great.
Perfect. Which one,
See you
Nicole?
there,
Just let
Nicole.
us know.
Yeah.
Kim Smith says, would love to catch up with Ketty again. Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And Joanne says, Amsterdam to Budapest river cruise was the best holiday I ever had.
Wow.
Ketty would love it.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Joanne.
Ketty would
send that message to my husband, please.
Your husband? I'm going with
you.
you.
That's right. Oh, I forgot. Oh, how could I?
Well, Ketty would have to sew herself a whole new wardrobe.
She would.
She
would indeed. Yeah, a holiday wardrobe.
She would indeed. Last words, Tricia Stringer. What do you hope? What do you hope people take away from this book? I guess
I really hope that it's always that thing that I hope people will walk in someone else's shoes for a little while and see the other side of the fence, and think about that, the relationships. But really, the bottom line for me is that I just want people to relax and enjoy the read, to enjoy the characters, and at the end of it, just feel like that's been a great read and. Yeah, they've enjoyed it.
Yeah, which I know people will. But I want to know: are you Team Margot or Team Rosalind?
You see, I'm firmly on the fence.
Oh, I'm Team Rosalind.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. I wanted to slap Margot sometimes. I did, but
I think Rosalind did too.
Maybe that's why I sympathise with her. Thank you, Tricia Stringer.
Oh, thank you, Victoria.
Thank you, Better
So
Reading, for having us in conversation.
Yes.
And of course, if you haven't managed to be here tonight, it will be available to watch in catch-up mode. So catch up and ask Tricia questions. I'm sure she'll be monitoring the chat. Definitely. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you do have or any information about your dates on your tour.
Yes, and Nicole's just quickly come back and said she's going to see me at Victoria Point Library. So
that's lovely.
See you there, Nicole.
Last time I was in Queensland early this year, the weather was so perfect.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's true. Short sleeves, Tricia.
Yay.
It's 22 degrees up there and people say, oh, it's so cold. And I think, oh, that's so not true.
It's been a cold winter here.
Night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep.